Hi there everyone, welcome to the Bushido Code, where honor is stronger than steel. The Bushido was the code of conduct and ethics for the samurai warrior. In Japanese term, if loosely translated, means the way of the warrior. In Japanese, samurai actually means to serve. Hence, it can be concluded that the Bushido is not a way of violence, but rather it is a way of service. The way of the warrior is well known for its practice of self-disembowelment, seppuku, and their belief that honor is more important than life. It has also received much attention in recent times due to its portrayal in Hollywood movies such as The Last Samurai or 47 Ronin, with Bushido being the central theme of both movies. So what does this have to do with our lives? Let us start by considering the term warrior. The definition of a warrior is a person engaged in some struggle or conflict. An example, someone who fights. By this definition, we are all warriors, whether against poverty, hunger, disease, or against less physical issues like racism, sexism, and insignificance. We spend our lives fighting something. Life spares none of us from struggles, and therefore you need a warrior's code, a guide on how to live and fight. That is, if you wish to be a successful warrior. The usage of the term way in this context means life principles, ethics, a guide to living according to a code. Since we are all warriors in our own right, the Bushido can also be our way and our guide in our individual battles. In the upcoming parts of this program, we will introduce you to the ancient code that is Bushido and how you can apply the tenets and wisdom of Bushido for a successful and more fulfilling life. Are you ready? Let us set up then to seek the way together. Hello and welcome back to Bushido, where honor is stronger than steel. In this part of the program, we will look at the first virtue in Bushido, gi, righteousness. There are 8 main principles of Bushido, known as the Bushido's 8 virtues. The first most emphasized virtue in the Bushido code is righteousness. The samurai considered righteousness to be the basis of Bushido, the foundation, the first step on the way. Do not confuse this with self-righteousness, however, which is the thinking that in oneself is better than others. Righteousness is a strong belief in justice and making the effort to do the right thing in all circumstances. Having righteousness as the basis of Bushido means that a samurai has to think and decide whether is it right to swing his sword before he swings it. He does not fight because he wants to be the strongest warrior, nor does he fight because he is told to fight. He fights because it is right for him to do so. The samurai were all well aware of the weight of their actions and the possible consequences. If you were about to get into a fight which might result in the loss of life, is it not essential to consider whether such loss of life is necessary or whether it could be avoided? Righteousness is fortunately not yet an old-fashioned idea. In fact, it is still very much relevant and much needed in today's society. There are 2 aspects of righteousness that are most definitely needed in our lives. One is the determination to do what is right, to make the right decisions. The other is the courage to stand up against what is wrong, to stop injustice from happening. In any of your personal battles, make sure you're fighting on the right side. I'm not referring to the stronger side, but rather more correctly on the right side. Knowing that you are doing the right thing will give you a sense of certainty and a lack of hesitation. Conflict in the workplace is inevitable. Conflicts are bound to happen when there are 2 or more people working together. As an employee, do not pick fights or get drawn into fights if you're not sure which side is the right or wrong side. In business setting, be absolutely certain that your decision is based on righteousness and not on greed or fear. Do not prioritize making a quick buck. It is rarely the right or most profitable choice. Also, avoid entering into business dealings with dishonest and unreliable partners, no matter how good the deal appears to be. Chances are that the deal that looks too good to be true is, in fact, too good to be true. Sit down and carefully think it through. Hi there, welcome back to Bushido, where honor is stronger than steel. In this section, we will discover more about the second most important virtue in the Bushido Code of Conduct, courage. The type of courage spoken about in the Bushido Code is different in the sense that it is more closely linked to righteousness. If righteousness is about making the right decision, then courage is what is needed to act on that decision. A man who is conventionally courageous might stand his ground against 10 men or have the fortitude to explore jungles and mountains on his own. However, true courage, according to Bushido principles, is displayed when a weak man stands up to a strong bully and tells him to stop. True courage is shown when a man who fears water jumps into the sea to rescue another. To a samurai, the degree of courage in a warrior is not measured by one's readiness to draw one's sword or fearlessness. Rather, the samurai considered courage to be in qualities inseparable from strength of mind or the fortitude of spirit. A samurai would have to consider all aspects of the situation at hand, then decide on the right course, and only then he would need to summon his courage. There was once a samurai called Musashibo Benkei. He was a warrior monk from the 12th century, famous for his great strength. He was said to have defeated more than 1,000 men, both in duels and in battle. However, this was not the reason he is remembered. Benkei was famed for the holding the bridge incident in Koromogawa no Tate Castle. In order to allow his master Minamoto no Yoshitsune time to commit seppuku, Benkei held the main bridge in front of the main gate all by himself against the enemy army, where he killed more than 300 enemy soldiers. It is said that the enemy soldiers were so afraid to face Benkei in close combat that they chose to shoot and kill Benkei with arrows. Thus, it was not Benkei's strength or skill that is honored to this day. Rather, it is his determination to stand his ground in defense of his master to the death, as well as his courage in facing a whole enemy army by himself. As with righteousness, courage has not gone out of fashion yet in the modern world. Superhero movies like Superman or Batman, where the hero possesses courage to fight against what is wrong, is still very much sought after. We also face situations in our daily lives that may not be as dramatic if compared to superhero movies, but still require courage all the same. Do not confuse courage with conventional bravery. A brave employee might dare to stand up in a meeting and propose a revolutionary idea to the management. An employee with courage and perhaps recklessness, however, is not afraid to tell management that the current $1 million project ongoing has no chance of success, despite knowing that the project was personally suggested by the general manager, who is known to be intolerant of any criticism and holds grudges. In business decisions, it is not enough to say, "I will bravely take the risk in order to make money." Sometimes the right business decision may lead to temporary losses or hardship. It may be tempting to take the easy, profitable path that will require you to sacrifice your principles or use unethical methods. Bushido courage is having the courage to do what is right. However, for anything worth having, one must pay the price. And the price is the courage to do what is right. If all right choices lead to riches and ease, then why would we need courage? Self-interest would suffice. So as a courageous warrior in this modern time, make the right decisions and move courageously forward in the battles of your life. Welcome back here, everyone. In this section of Bushido, where honor is stronger than steel, we will look at the third virtue in the samurai code of honor, benevolence. The third most important virtue that is spoken in the Bushido code of conduct is benevolence, or mercy. It acts to balance the violent nature of the samurai's duties. As the samurai has power to end life, he was required to balance that heavy duty with compassion, benevolence, and mercy. This principle has its roots in Buddhism. A samurai should have compassion for those who are suffering and the weak. Hence, a samurai draws his sword to protect the weak, as they are unable to protect themselves. Under the Bushido code, benevolence is also extended to their enemies and their rivals. A samurai will not hold grudges or bitterness against another samurai on the battlefield. In battle, every samurai would fight in accordance with the Bushido code, with each believing in their own cause and laying down their lives. However, such fighting was limited to the battlefield only. They would show courtesy to enemy warriors outside of the battlefield. Here is an example of magnificent benevolence in the story of Uesugi Kenshin, Lord of the Uesugi, in how he treated his enemy Takeda Shingen, Lord of the Takeda. The Takeda clan's province lay in the mountainous region quite away from the sea and depended upon the Hojo provinces of the Tokaido for salt. The Hojo wished to weaken Shingen while not openly waging war with him, so they could cut off all supplies of salt from the Takeda clan. Kenshin, upon hearing of his enemy's dilemma, wrote to the Shingen of his opinion the Hojo had committed a mean act, and that although he, Kenshin, was at war with him, Shingen, he had ordered his subjects to provide him with salt, adding also, "I do not fight with salt, but with a sword." Applying Bushido to your life today, if you are strong, then seek to help the weak. There is saying from the Bushido, with great power, show benevolence. Have compassion for those who are less fortunate. In business, do not take advantage of employees and business partners during hard times, but offer to lend a helping hand. If your business partner or vendor is having trouble delivering on their deadlines, do not withdraw from the contract and get your full measure of flesh from them in penalties. Have some compassion. People will remember acts of kindness, no matter how small. The compassion that you extend to others will be repaid to you in some way in the future. You can learn by finding a suitable role model to learn from. There are also many volunteer organizations, charities. Spend your time contributing your resources and effort there. All it takes is one little step, one decision, 1 minute of your time to show your kindness to someone, and you are one step closer to living the Bushido life. Hello there, in this section today in Bushido, where honor is stronger than steel, we will explore the fourth virtue in the Bushido code, respect. The Bushido foundation of respect for others is sincerity. It is the sincere respect for others in one's heart, which then shows in their bearing and their words. For a samurai, and also the Japanese, even up to this day, respect, in accordance with the Bushido code, is not only shown in the way they talk, it is also shown in the way they stand and the depth of their bow, among other customs to show respect to others. From a common sense point of view, being respectful and courteous to another warrior makes a lot of sense. After all, there is no benefit from getting slashed or stabbed just because you offended someone by accident. So the samurai bow when they meet each other and greet each other courteously. They do not use vulgar language and they do not seek to offend or start fights. The samurai believed in courtesy so much that they had schools of etiquette and proper behavior. A follower of the best-known school of etiquette of the Ogasawara Ryu was once recorded as saying, "The end of all etiquette is to so cultivate your mind that even when you are quietly seated, not the roughest ruffian can dare make onset on your person." Imagine a level of courtesy that can be shown merely through sitting quietly, without any words. Also, how does one sit politely? Does politeness apply to sitting or standing? The samurai believed that it did. Applying Bushido to your life today, our present society seems to lack a clear perception of respect, particularly the younger generation of today. People nowadays have become increasingly callous and impolite with their words and actions, and have no regard for others' feelings. We seem to have overemphasized respect for self, so much so that we have neglected respect for others. There's no harm in showing kindness, politeness, and affording a basic level of respect for your fellow man. Of course, your level of respect may differ from person to person. There's no harm affording to a higher level of respect for someone whose values you admire and look up to. Pay attention to others around you. Listen to the other person's ideas and opinions and encourage them to express them, regardless of whether you agree with the person or not. Respect the efforts of others and show your appreciation and gratitude where it's due. In business, respect plays an important role. Your actions and words could potentially make or break a $1 million business deal. The Japanese understand respect very well. In a business meeting, a Japanese businessman will choose his words with the greatest care. He will not choose topics of conversation that could possibly lead to offense. We may not be able to control the other factors affecting the business deal, like the economy or the exchange rate. However, we can definitely control our manners and words. Respect is also equally as important in the workplace, not just to your superiors and bosses, but to your peers and juniors as well. Every one of your colleagues has skills and knowledge that could help or contribute to your work. At the same time, they have the ability to delay or create obstacles for you and your work if you offend them. Being respectful for others will not only help you to build closer relationships with your colleagues, but also help you in the long run. Your colleagues may have ways to help you when you face issues in the future. Respect should be the outward manifestation of a sympathetic regard for the feelings of others. It would not be principle or moral value if it were practiced only for profit or gain. Not only should we practice courtesy because it is sensible and practical, we should also practice it because it is good, period. Hello and welcome back. In this module, we will talk about integrity and how important it is as one of the Bushido elements. Integrity, honesty, sincerity. These words give an impression of solidity, of a person who can be relied on to stand his ground, which is an important attribute for any warrior to have. Someone with integrity can be relied on to tell the truth, to not betray your trust, to not compromise their principles. Someone whose word is as strong as steel. Integrity has always been important to the samurai. It was considered cowardly to lie or dissemble. Thus, the samurai considered integrity and courage to go hand in hand. Lying was considered a weakness in heart and character. Similar to the French concept or noblesse oblige, the samurai also believed that their higher social position required of them a higher standard of integrity than the common folk. This concept exists in government and rulers all over the world to this day, although sadly most honor it only to their convenience. When lives are at stake, a warrior is expected to be both. A warrior who can be relied upon to say what he means, as well as a warrior who can be relied upon to do what he says. In the context of war, the warrior can be entrusted with missions of importance, upon which the fate of battles and wars depends. For instance, if a bridge needs to be held for 2 days against the enemy, or if you need the troops to force march for 2 days to reach the battle in time, this is where you would seek a warrior who can be relied upon to do what he says he will do. Now ask yourself this, is this integrity or reliability? They aren't the same thing, are they? I would argue that those two principles are different, but to the samurai, they were inseparable. To the samurai, the fact that his word can be relied on is a testament to his integrity. His word is his bond. A samurai's conscience is the judge of his honor. The decisions he makes and how he carries them out are a reflection of his true nature. Do what is right without hesitation. As Zig Ziglar once mentioned, with integrity you will do the right thing, so you will have no guilt. Now let's look at the concept of honesty in relation to integrity. Honesty is the best policy, a phrase that many of us have grown up hearing often from our parents and teachers, normally after an instant or two where we have possibly not been as honest as we should have been. And having experienced many occasions and instances in your life requiring honesty from you, or involving honesty or lack of it on the part of others. What conclusion have you come to? Is honesty indeed the best policy? When talking about integrity and honesty in the workplace today, integrity is one of the most sought after traits that employers look for in employees. Only the bravest and most reliable employees can write on their resumes character traits, integrity, reliability, honesty. I guarantee that such an employee would definitely be shortlisted for an interview and hired for sure if they lived up to the values listed. Integrity as a character trait in an employee is priceless. An employee who can be handed $1 million in a bag and be relied upon to take that bag straight to the bank without even looking inside, that employee has the integrity of a samurai. It is much the same in the business world. A businessman with integrity will be known throughout the market. Nobody will hesitate to do business with him. None will doubt his word. If that businessman promises that the project will generate a return of 500%, none will suspect him of exaggerating or fixing the numbers. I may be repeating myself, but I cannot emphasize this enough. Integrity is priceless. It cannot be bought. It can only be earned and proven through living with integrity and honesty, and the reward is trust and respect from others that translates into the most solid foundation of reputation possible. Welcome back. In this module we will be talking about honor and how it makes up all the 8 virtues of the samurai combined. There is this famous quote by Miyamoto Musashi where he stated, "You can abandon your own body, but never let go of your honor." Let's take an example. There was this prominent teacher who gave a maths test, just a small one. In the school system, there were 2 major tests a year, as well as the nationwide ones, which came every few years. So this was just a small test. You could even call it a quiz. Suddenly, this maths teacher raised his voice and said, "Do not cheat. If you fail, fail with honor." The students were all impressed. So what is honor? That you may even possess it even though you fail. Honor is pride. Honor is self-respect. Honor is all 8 of the virtues of the samurai combined. There is honor in integrity, in compassion, in loyalty. Honor is the essence of being a samurai. Honor is immeasurable. Consider that example of cheating in the maths quiz. Someone might say, "But it was just a small quiz, no big deal." To which the answer would be, honor can't be measured. There is just honor. The Japanese has a saying, "Do not return home unless you are caparisons in brocade." The idea of being that a samurai would have to achieve great honor and be rewarded with a higher position, which will allow them to dress richly in brocade and silks. This shows you how important honor is to the Japanese culture. A life without honor is not a life at all. Victory or death, as the popular saying goes. The most extreme aspect of samurai honor is known as seppuku, a form of ritualized suicide, which involves disemboweling yourself to regain your honor. Putting aside how horrendous the concept of cutting your own stomach open is, what's it got to do with honor? That is how highly the samurai regarded honor, and how valuable it was, that it could be only regained by the most extreme methods. That is by paying the highest price possible, your life. Only then could you regain your honor and die an honorable death. Here's a question. How many men and women in your workplace would you feel comfortable calling honorable? Are there any? Sure, you may know some good workers, decent workers, competent workers, but let's say your workplace or maybe around 100 people. Not many that you know are worthy to be called honorable. If honor was common or easy, it would not be worth as much. So this highlights the value of honor. That being said, how would you like to be the one honorable person in your workplace? Whenever the management would need to promote someone or select someone to head a project, your name would definitely come out. So how would you display honor in the workplace? After all, I did mention above that there aren't many opportunities to show your honor in a peaceful corporate workplace. I'm sure that any corporate employee reading this book knows Well, how difficult it is to be noticed for your contributions in a corporate firm, let alone be noticed for your character traits. Like any worthwhile undertaking, it takes time, effort, and consistency. You need to stay true to your good core values, to uphold justice, and to always make the honorable choice instead of the right choice. Honor is similarly to reputation, in that it needs to be built step by step and brick by brick. To put it in one sentence, choose honor over life. Of course, I'm not saying that you should actually give up your life, like the samurai, but set that as your goal. In any difficult decision, imagine that it is a choice between life or honor, and then choose honor. Now let us consider the business world. Remember what I said about integrity and reliability earlier. Well, honor is even more valuable than integrity to a businessman. Think of it like having a noble title. That reputation and title is gained little by little over each business dealing. Paid invoice and honored contract until the businessman has reached the highest position of respect in the country or field. It is earned and achieved, and all the more respected for that. As mentioned earlier, something that cannot be bought with money is priceless. You may see some rich people driving on the road in expensive cars or living in luxurious homes. However, you can feel assured that you have something that they cannot buy. Despite all their wealth, in some cases, you may be richer than them in honor. Now it boils down to the question, what should you do if you lose your honor? To err is human. One mistake can tarnish 20 years of honorable dealings. Fortunately for us, we do not have to commit seppuku to regain our honor. If you make a mistake and all that you have achieved is laid to waste, do not despair. You just have to start over again. Start building honor and respect from scratch, no matter how long it takes, and you will surely get there. Hello there and welcome back. In this module, we will talk about how loyalty plays an important role as part of the Bushido code. A samurai's duty and loyalty is to his lord until death. A samurai would sacrifice his life for his lord, even though he was asked to take his own life. Yes, that practice existed. Sometimes a lord would ask a samurai to commit seppuku, and the samurai would obey obediently and promptly disembowel himself. What kind of loyalty does it take to do that? How dutiful must someone be that he would give up his life because he was asked to? The answer, as loyal as a samurai. Let's take an example. I bet some of you have watched the film 47 Ronin, which means masterless samurai. In this story, their lord has been betrayed and forced to commit seppuku by a high-ranking court official. Now the code of the samurai requires any samurai to take revenge on his lord's killer. However, the shogun, the most powerful lord in Japan, had ordered that no revenge be carried out by the samurai of the betrayed lord. To cut the long story short, these 47 Ronin had disobeyed the order of the shogun. By law, they were criminals. Although by the samurai code, they were loyal samurai and should be hanged to death. However, due to the popular support from the people, the shogun praised them for their devotion to duty and allowed them to commit seppuku honorably. To the samurai, it was a disgrace to be hanged as a criminal and an honorable death if by the sword or seppuku. As weird as this might sound, it was considered a happy ending, as they actually successfully avenged their lord and were not hanged but received honorable deaths. My focus, however, is on the fact that the 47 Ronin fully knew the consequences of disobeying the shogun. They did not expect honorable deaths. Even if they succeeded, they knew that they would be executed in disgrace, a terrible fate for a samurai, and yet they did not hesitate to carry out the act. The tale of the 47 Ronin is synonymous in Japan for duty and loyalty, no matter the cost. A samurai feels responsible for his actions and their consequences, and loyal to the people in his care. A samurai's loyalty to his daimyo is unquestionable. Always remember that respect is earned, honesty is appreciated, trust is gained, loyalty is returned. Duty to the family, duty to your friends, duty to your country, these concepts have not disappeared, not yet. Despite the family being less and less valued as society develops, or friendship giving away to the concept of every man for himself, or even patriotism losing its charm as corruption and betrayals by the government make the citizens lose faith, duty has not disappeared from our society. Of course, it manifests differently from the way it did in the past, as our values and perceptions have changed. It is no longer considered a child's duty to the parents to marry whomever is selected for them, nor is it commonly accepted that you should support your country in everything that it does. Now let's look at it from the context of business or the workforce. A certain amount of loyalty is expected by employers in exchange for the salary that they pay. For businessmen, they owe loyalty to the business partners and their vendors and suppliers. This is a loyalty that is based on mutual profit and past contributions and favors. This is also for the continuance of such profit and favors. It is loyalty based on enlightened self-interest and therefore a strong bond of loyalty. But always remember this, be loyal only to those who are worthy of it. Do not ever sacrifice your conscience in the name of loyalty. When you pledge your loyalty to the wrong people or parties, you will only sacrifice your intent. Welcome back. In this module, we will learn why self-control is important in the samurai and how it plays a role in the Bushido code. If you were to imagine a warrior, what kind of personality would come to mind? A passionate and emotional warrior, or a cold, heartless killing machine? There have been many warrior cultures throughout our history, with many beliefs on the appropriate personality for a warrior. The samurai is a warrior with iron self-control, neither joyous nor angry, neither cold nor heartless. He would be a warrior who doesn't reveal any emotions to the enemy, because he keeps himself under control. It is said that knowledge is power, and this was especially true for the samurai. If your enemy has knowledge of your thoughts, your emotions, your desires, he has power over you and the ability to weaken or defeat you. Self-control was therefore an essential trait for a samurai to have, so as not to reveal or create weaknesses for enemies to exploit. It was also considered unmanly for a samurai to show his emotions on his face. The samurai did not show affection for family members in public, which seems to be taking things to the extreme, but such was their belief in the need for self-control and stoicism. Self-control by the samurai was not restricted only to the mind and emotions. The samurai were, first and foremost, warriors. Control over the body was imperative for a samurai. Greed, lust, sloth, all these sins of the flesh were forbidden to the samurai. A more physical control over limbs and muscles, was needed so as to fight well in battle. The ideal of the samurai sword fighting techniques was to become one with the sword. Absolute self-control over one's body was necessary to achieve this ideal. Let's take for example, self-control and self-discipline have largely fallen from the radar in today's society. I will not name names, but it is evident from statistics that there are countries where a large section of the population is overweight or obese. That is a direct result of the virtue of self-control not being practiced or believed in those countries anymore. I'm sure that I don't need to touch on the subject of drug abuse. That is a total absence of self-control, to the point where the user engages in self-destruction. There are countries where so little self-control is expected of the citizens that they pass laws to escape acts done in anger or extreme emotion. Unfortunately, self-control as a virtue is not valued in many cultures anymore, but this has nothing to do with you practicing it. You do not need support from others or encouragement to practice self-control. After all, it is yourself that you seek to control, not others. Self-control is about looking inwards. As an employee, subordinate to others, self-control is imperative to keeping your job, which is not so different from the samurai really. They were subordinate to their superiors and lords, having to follow orders that they may not have agreed with. The only difference between them and an employee is in our modern age is that the employee can resign and seek employment with a new employer, while it is impossible for a samurai to do so. Self-control is very important. If your employer is offensive or ungrateful or in the habit of making bad decisions and then blaming you for it, do not lash out and in anger or respond to his or her provocations. Just nod, control your emotions, and then apply for a new job as soon as possible. Do not let your life and your plans be unduly affected by those who would cause you trouble. As a businessman, there will be many occasions when self-control will be needed for gain or to avoid loss. If you have plans that could be upset by interference from your rivals, you need to refrain from providing any information on plans to anyone who might cause a leak of the information. If you have been cheated or betrayed by business partners or friends, you will need to hold back your anger and admit defeat, or simply exert self-control. No one has a perfect victory record in business. There will be times when you lose or get cheated or outmaneuvered, and showing your emotions to your enemies at that point will only serve as extra points for their victory over you. So use your self-control. Hide your emotions deep in your heart and show your enemy no weaknesses. Wait for your opportunity to even the score. No matter how badly you have been wrong, there is no benefit to revealing your plans or emotions to your enemy. Let none know or even suspect your plans, and your chances of success will increase substantially. There is a Japanese saying that goes, "Even a lone mutter in a well is known after 3 years." The meaning is clear. Any secret that you do not keep deep in your heart will be exposed eventually. Control your desire to share your plans and thoughts with others. Keep them deep inside your heart. Welcome back. We have finally reached the final module of the Bushido Code. By now, you are already familiar with the 8 different elements of Bushido, which is the way of the samurai. A simple question. Shakespeare once wrote, "To be or not to be?" That is the question. That is the only question. Do you want to follow Bushido in your life? Do you want to follow the steps of the ancient samurai? The simplest question of all, and you will need to answer yes or no. You are a warrior in this new era by your own means. You are able to practice righteousness, courage, benevolence, respect, integrity, honor, loyalty, and self-control in different contexts in your life. You are now able to live your life successfully by following the Warrior's Code or the Bushido Guide. As stated in the previous modules, Bushido is evergreen and can be practiced in the governance of your own country, in the workplace, among family, friends, but most importantly, helping us to get through our individual battles. Always remember, we are all warriors, fighting our own battles, and Bushido is the way of the warriors. All the best.